welcome to the Aspire to Be podcast. I'm Catherine, Sales and Marketing Lead, and today we're joined by Matt. Hi Matt, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Hello.
So Matt is our Learning and Development business partner here at Aspire to Be. So Matt, how did you start your sort of journey in education? Because obviously tell us a bit about your background. What did you used to do?
So I started off as a teacher. I was a teacher in a primary school in Bristol, and I was given an opportunity to use technology in a way which wasn't that common at the time, I suppose. So we were very much one of the pioneer schools, one of the first schools to use iPads in a one-to-one manner. So where each student across year 5 and 6 had their own device. And it was, we made some mistakes along the way, but ultimately it was really impactful. And from that, we went on to become an Apple Regional Training Centre, providing lots of different professional development opportunities for staff across primarily the Southwest. And then, these things just happen. I met up with Simon Pridden, the owner of Aspire to Be. And up to that point, I was really enjoying working with staff, actually, and showcasing how they can use technology in the classroom, helping them to improve their kind of own time and workflow and learning opportunities for students, lots of different things. So when the opportunity came up to take that further afield and work with schools, ultimately mainly the UK, but across the world as well, I jumped and took it with both hands.
So it's quite a big shift then, really, to move from teaching into more of a training sort of role, I suppose. How did you find that? How did you manage the movement?
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a shift. However, what we're still doing is having that core focus on education. So because that was very central to our approach at my school at the time, I think one of the biggest traps you can fall into, particularly around technology, is trying to use it as a bit of a gimmick. So by joining up with Aspire to Be, that was kind of obviously a main focus for us. And I guess I didn't find the transition too difficult because I was doing it anyway to begin with. I was talking about something that we kind of done already. You're always still learning, of course, but we had experiences to share. And I personally don't view training all that different to teaching. I think there's a common misconception in terms of how they're both defined, and actually effective teaching is about facilitating and coaching as well. And it's really how do you communicate the ability to absorb knowledge and expertise in any given area, and provide engaging opportunities to do so. So it was kind of natural for me. I really enjoyed doing it beforehand. So like I said, when I had the opportunity to do it more widespread, I was all for it.
Yeah, great. Do you ever miss teaching then?
Oh, hugely. Yeah. No, I really do, because I think, look, teaching's it's a difficult job, and I don't think unless you've been in the classroom, you really appreciate how difficult teaching can be. So I miss it primarily for working with the students. I really do miss that element. I'm lucky because in the role that I have and the work that we do as a company, we're able to work with schools all the time, daily basis. It's not always in class with the students, but when those opportunities do come along, first one there, I love it. So it's I do miss it. But then, like I said, I think I got to a point in my career where I could see an additional value to helping students by helping the teachers through technology. So good change, but you do look back and think I do miss those opportunities working with the students on a regular basis.
So I suppose coming from a teaching background yourself, that must really help you to facilitate your learning, like you've just said, and that's a key point of Aspire to Be, isn't it, is that a lot of the learning technologists and partner technologists are from a teaching background. So how do you think that helps with how we then go into schools and how we promote our products and how we develop our products?
Oh, it's huge. I think my view on that is that for us to relate and engage with all stakeholders in education, you can only really do that effectively if you've had that experience. So for us as a company, bringing in outstanding and experienced practitioners is central to everything that we do, and we wouldn't have the success that we've had and be able to provide the services that we do without them, because they do bring that real life experience. So it's massively important. And I think it's always the first thing that we look at is what is the actual impact on education in that sense with anything we do around technology, making sure that it's not that gimmick, making sure that anything we're developing which is innovative and kind of forward thinking is ultimately rooted in sound kind of pedagogical practice or outcomes for students. So I think it's what the business has been built on and will continue to do so in the future as well.
So following on from that, we've got a couple of products at the moment which are, we're pushing into schools, and I think we were going to talk a little bit about the EDCR. So do you want to tell us a bit about that and how it came to be and where it is now?
Yeah, certainly. So I suppose the best starting point is to talk about our DCR, or Digital Competence Review, which was a core product for us ever since we started, really. So that's where we would work with the school, we'd spend some time at the school engaging with all different stakeholders. So we'd talk to the head teachers, senior leadership, teachers, teaching assistants, students, parents, governors, everyone. Really in-depth question base, and taking time to walk around the school, understand how they're using technology to facilitate learning, and then taking a step back and saying, right, from a teacher perspective and a facilitator, how do you use it to manage your workflow and create content, engaging content, that kind of thing. So that was kind of our starting point, and we'd work in two teams almost. Now, whilst we are predominantly education kind of specialists in that sense, we're fortunate enough in the company to have people who also have background in network and infrastructure, hardware, loads of different technical things, which quite honestly is not my bag, so I won't talk in too much depth. But we work really well together because, if you want to push forward as an organisation in terms of how you're embracing digital, you have to obviously have a sound and reliable infrastructure. So that comes from your device, your end user devices, all the way up to your network, Wi-Fi access points, your servers, all that kind of thing. So we kind of marry those up together. And the purpose of the review is to provide that objective view on where you are as an organisation. We compile that into a report and then hold various workshops designed around building a digital strategy. So that's kind of where we started from. And then, of course, we had the pandemic.
Yes.
As an organisation, we are face-to-face delivery. We were working in schools, we were working in businesses, and actually going to the venues, the locations, and we had to stop that. The difficulty that we had, as many felt as well, is that how do you then transition away from that face-to-face model, particularly because we were so passionate about it in terms of saying that couldn't be done, it had to remain face-to-face. But it's funny how these things work out. So we've developed what was our in-person DCR into an EDCR.
Right, seamless.
Yeah. So it was a mammoth task, because the amount of information we collect in the in-person version, which we will continue to kind of push forward with, but the digital version opened up opportunities that we hadn't really thought of before, and I was probably the main one almost lobbying against ever doing a virtual version of this. And that's completely changed my mindset on that, because the level of detail we've been able to go in through the EDCR portal in order to gather all of the information, engage with all the different stakeholders still. Video meetings have come a long way, and actually a lot of the face-to-face meetings we've just replaced them with video meetings, and it's worked really well. We've got the ability in the portal for the lead person in the school that we engage with to actually take videos and images of everything that we require, upload them to our secure portal, we can view them. So it's actually opened up so many different opportunities, and I think moving forward our DCR, our in-person version, will actually incorporate some of the virtual platform to make the whole process that little bit more seamless. So it's worked really well. It's funny how these things happen. Kind of silver lining and all that, isn't it? But all good.
Yeah, well, it's good to show how adaptive we are as a business as well, I suppose. I think, if anything, the pandemic brought that out, didn't it? That need to sort of be able to pivot and react and develop what we offer to a new model, really. So with the EDCR then, who is it for and why would you need it?
So ultimately it's for everyone within an organisation, in terms of we want to engage with them and understand how the technology is being used and understand what the best practice taking place is. So our methodology is something called appreciative inquiry, and essentially it's designed to identify the best of the as-is in order to inform where they want to be. So in order to do that, we've got to engage in quite a robust line of questioning to establish where an organisation is on a variety of levels. So we've got 3 core strands. We'll talk about primarily teaching and learning with technology. So we'll cover facilitating the curriculum, digital competence, digital well-being, which perhaps I'll come on to a bit later. Then we look at the infrastructure and hardware side of it as well. But actually we look at the change readiness as a core strand, which isn't something that is often looked at, particularly around digital strategy. And I think that's a transition from where IT was viewed in schools as IT, as a subject, to now actually being digital and how it permeates absolutely everything. So we've got to explore a lot of different areas within that. So from a leadership perspective, if you're trying to integrate any form of technology, how ready are you as an organisation to bring that in? And this is true for whether you're education or business, doesn't matter, because you need to make sure that your culture is correct. Do you know what it should look like? How can you talk about technology, which is typically a fearful subject for many people, in a way which breaks down those barriers? What do you actually have as your digital strategy, if one at all? If not, we can help kind of work through that. What do you want from a school perspective, your learner experience to be? So the change readiness element is very much focused on leadership, and it's trying to engage leadership in a I suppose a line of questioning which perhaps they haven't thought of that much before. It's quite a challenging task. There are some challenging tasks in there. When I say challenging, it makes you think. And I think some of the statements that we ask people to choose from really, I suppose that they're designed to educate as well through that same process, because we say you don't know what you don't know. So if we can also use this as an opportunity to educate people as we go through it, then it makes it that much better. So we actually, as I said, through those 3 strands, we'll engage with every stakeholder pretty much in an organisation. So for your second question as to why would a school want it, I think there's 2 different answers to that. And ultimately the second answer is caused by the pandemic. So if you reflect before when are we talking, March last year now, isn't it, or April last year, I think education has been going through a bit of a reset for a while in terms of how it integrates cloud-based working, and that's had a big impact on communication, collaboration, and it's causing many core workflow processes for schools to change. So really the DCR as it was then was designed to help organisations understand what technology now looks like in terms of best practice from a learning experience, how to integrate it with the curriculum and make sure that you're not just looking at IT as a discrete skill, that actually there's room for it in a cross-curricular manner, but also leveraging a wide range of devices in order to do so. So primarily it was around developing a digital strategy and coaching schools and in particular leadership around what does that digital strategy look like. Cut to last year, April, with the pandemic, what we've seen is a massive increase in the use of cloud-based technology. So actually that change that was going to take place over probably a longer period of time has now shortened dramatically. The issue with that is that it happened so quickly and schools had to react to that in such an accelerated manner that there wasn't necessarily the underlying strategy that was looking ahead 12 months, which is understandable. And quite frankly, how schools manage to do that in such a short time is mind-blowing. Yeah, for those who haven't worked in a school, it's difficult to comprehend how much of a transition that was, trying to go to a remote teaching and learning environment. So what the EDCR is now doing is incorporating that success and also that kind of challenge, and trying to see, well, how do we leverage what we learned and the best practice and use that to now spearhead and accelerate our digital strategy moving forward. In a roundabout way, I know it doesn't seem like it, but in terms of how technology is being used in education, the pandemic has done a lot of good, because it's forced schools to reevaluate how they can provide learning content, not just in the classroom.
Yeah.
So it's really now, how do we develop a digital strategy around that, take all of the positives out of it, trying to keep it positive. How do we take the positives out of that pandemic in terms of the digital learning environment, and transform how we're now providing learning opportunities for students? So the EDCR, as it stands, will cover through those three strands: change readiness, teaching and learning technology, and the infrastructure, is to get into a question base to capture all of that information. We provide high level findings and ultimately recommendations that are based on our knowledge and expertise, having done it in previous roles, and also just our work with schools across the world, and understanding what works, what doesn't, and trying to get it all into one place so schools can benefit.
Brilliant. And we've had a couple of schools go through the process already. And what sort of results have we seen from that? What are the positives that have come out of it?
I think the positives are the feedback we've had on the platform has been excellent.
Yeah.
So, and look, it was a nerve-wracking time for us in terms of launching that, because it was taking a process that we know works exceptionally well, putting it entirely virtually, and then seeing what the feedback would be like. And we've been overwhelmed with how positive that's been. So I think, as I said, we'll continue to kind of take that forward now and use it as a core product for a number of different areas. I think the impact of the EDCR on a school level is very much, I think it's continued to provide a bespoke level of recommendation for the schools, which is really important. So all of the recommendations there's no automation in this process. They're by us. There's an ex-teacher or learn technologist, part technologist at the end of that portal, or the end of a camera, who's actually gathering this information and analysing it. We did originally look at trying to put it into a completely automated version. I think the reality of that is, could it be done? Yes, but I think it takes so much development, because essentially what you're trying to do is capture all of the knowledge and expertise of an individual and all of the decisions they make when they're in front of someone or in a school, and then trying to put that into a system. It's a very difficult task. So we decided that was something that actually the virtual nature of this process allows a little bit more time for us to get stuck into that kind of recommendations side of things. So ultimately the impact for a school is they have the starting point of their digital strategy. They've got the benefit of having that objective viewpoint, and also from our perspective, one of our kind of our USPs, if you will, is that we're the only professional learning provider for Apple, Google and Microsoft. So we don't hold any kind of preference to any organisation. What we're really looking at is what's going to impact that school, and understanding that all schools are going to be on different journeys. They're going to be in a current, different current position in terms of the technology they already have, realising that schools don't have endless funds to just buy new kit and hardware. So you've got to understand where that school is in order to help them. So we're able to provide that kind of unbiased opinion and direction based on what's best for the school, and that's continued to come through the findings and recommendations. And as you said, we've got testimonials and feedback on the website, which we're delighted with. We couldn't be happier, because at the end of the day, for us, we're all passionate about what we do. Education is at the heart of everything that we do. So when we see schools benefiting from our support, and ultimately the educators, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, great. So what's next then for EDCR? Where do you go from here?
So we're just about to go through a full redesign.
Great.
Yeah. So the portal itself is so it's not the process. It's like anything. You develop something, and to be honest, we have to develop it quickly.
Yeah.
As with a lot of organisations, and to transition our entire product base over to a virtual environment had its challenges. So we're really pleased with where it is. But it's like anything, as you get more used to something, you think, we could do this, we could do that.
Yeah.
I'm forever tinkering with these things and thinking, oh, what could we change and adapt? So we're going through a bit of a redesign on it, adding some extra information which will just help it increase how intuitive it is, that kind of thing. We're looking at accessibility as well.
Great.
Trying to understand how can we make this more accessible for anyone with additional learning needs. We are adding different question bases all the time, trying to make it that little bit more bespoke, and offering different things that a school may or may not want to include. So, for example, we've looked at the distance learning element again as a kind of result of the pandemic, and decided to add in a separate question base around that entirely. We've looked at digital inclusion, so in particular we're trying to get Senkos or Elenkos involved in this process, and understanding where the role of technology sits within students, again with additional learning needs. I'm trying to think, there's probably other bits and pieces that we're doing, but they're the main focus for us at the moment, and I think we just want to start getting more schools through this as a process and supporting them on their digital strategy.
Brilliant, this sounds great. And if you do want to learn more about EDCR, you can go to our website and you can have a look at some of our fantastic testimonials and case studies on there, or get in touch with us and we'll be able to help you out from there. So thank you very much for your time today, Matt. It's been great to talk to you.
Pleasure.
And catch you soon. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.